When we consider being a man or woman after God's own heart, we automatically tend to think of individuals. David obviously being the prime example. But as we are exploring this, one of the things that hits me is there's other factors for us to consider. Focus, attitude, and action seems to be an amazing component of being a man or woman after God's own heart. The New Testament reminds us continually that we're supposed to help each other. In fact, Galatians says we are supposed to share each other's burdens. But so often, doesn't it seem like people just really make this token effort? The words are there, but it doesn't seem like there's any action, any effort behind them. In fact, I will apologize. I sarcastically say this about those moments. It's like people are saying, oh, be warm, be filled, have a nice day. In other words, oh, I'm sorry, but I hope it works out okay. We're going to look at a story today, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But I want to take a moment and look at it and just recognize how these actions helped someone, restored someone, but also made them people after God's own heart. Now, the story, as you, again, probably aware, is the paralyzed man where his friends carry him, can't get to Jesus, so they lower him through the roof. And this is now these, again, the problem with these stories is we can read over them so quickly. But I want to take a moment and really dig a little deeper and get some things that you and I need to get deep in our spirit. First off, what do we see? So the four friends hear that Jesus is in the area. And so they are making all the effort. One of the things we will see is the paralyzed man. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but we don't see in this story where he makes any effort at all. We don't see that he asked them to help him get to Jesus. We don't see anything. We see his friends making all the effort. Now, one of the things for you and I to realize, when people are hurting physically, emotionally, financially, whatever it may be, many times when people are hurting, number one, they don't necessarily have the ability to make the effort. They may be so beat down they just don't have the ability. They may not even know how to ask for help. And one of the things that I get from this story is we don't see that the paralyzed man asked for help. Again, we don't see that he made any effort, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. But what we see is how his friends made all the effort. They made the commitment. They literally shared the burden. So they've heard Jesus in the area, and they go. And it says that the house was so packed that you couldn't even look in the door. In other words, you couldn't even peek in to see Jesus. Now, as you know, these guys weren't giving up. And this is the part where so often, when we're helping someone, or even in our own situation, we get there, you can't even peek in, and it's like, well, we tried. But no, these guys continue. And remember, so when they climbed up on the roof, broke open the roof, obviously the homeowner is going to be upset and offended. They risked, and they don't know that it's going to work, but they're willing to try. And again, the homeowner is going to be really upset. So not only do they not know if it will work, they're going to face the wrath of the homeowner, I'm sure, and be required to fix or pay for the roof. They are going way above and beyond. And then they lower him into Jesus. Now again, big risk. They don't know if it's going to work. They could have people yelling at them. What are you doing? But they were willing to be bold on behalf of someone else. They're willing to make extreme effort on behalf of someone else. Now, this is a part of the story which I love. So there he is in front of Jesus. And Jesus says to them, he was impressed by their faith. Now, we don't know. When he says that, is he talking about the friend's faith, or does that include the paralyzed man's faith? We don't know. But for a moment, let's assume that it was strictly, let's say the paralyzed man had at that point emotionally lost even his faith that Jesus would do it. What we see is, if nothing else, the faith, the effort, the action of his friends got him before Jesus. Now, Jesus says an interesting thing. He says, your sins are forgiven. Now, that's something for us to explore in a whole nother episode. People get offended, but in the end, Jesus says to the man, get up and walk. And the guy is so restored, he's so healed, restored, that he rejoices, gets up, picks up his mat, his pallet, his cot, and he walks off. He is completely restored because of the faith, the action, the effort of his friends. Now, Jesus is glorified. He's restored. And what's amazing about this is these friends, because of their effort, again, their friend was restored, but these guys, because of their faith, their action, their efforts, they, in my mind, are people after God's own heart. And they earned, we don't know their names. Now, we get to heaven, maybe we'll meet them. But we don't even know their names, but they earned an eternal reputation, and they proved themselves people after God's own heart.